Thank you guys for joining in. I'm not sure if Julia and Wyatt will hop in or not. I threw them the invitation for hopping in digitally, but we'll go ahead and get going. This is session 18 of Starfinder, Souls of Steel.
Crazy.
Yeah, we. How do you think? Since I play once a month, we've made it 18 months in for Starfinder. So,
Wow.
this is the beginning of Act 3. Act 3 is the coming storm.
Dope. Okay, the coming storm.
During our last session was the tail end of our events on the Harvester. Let me pull up my notes here so that I don't miss any important bits. It started off right with the fight with the Harvester. So the Harvester was a centipede-like creature that was merged with the
engine or whatever.
Yeah. So and the engine was a little bit different than what you guys had experienced before. So this one looked like it was a black hole inside a like container, essentially. Uh, this hive mind had an amplified version of that sort of stun ability, which it only managed to pull off one time, but Delilah and Ryer managed to kind of like battle through it. And you guys kind of in a medicines took care of the harvester rather quickly. The only downside was that because it was merged with the ship and had direct control over everything, the ship immediately went into like emergency a situation, basically because the engine was starting to implode on itself, which resulted in sort of like an escape sequence sort of attempt to get off the ship. They'd seen that the like turbo lifts were glitching, the doors were glitching, everybody was going to have to pass engineering checks to kind of get out the gates. The team had opted to take the shuttle instead of the teleporter, and they took only one of the shuttles, but Glarb, taking over the piloting controls, managed to make pretty good quick work of like detaching from the harvester and getting out of the nearby area. After having detached, John had tried to contact over to the OMAG because they had been able to see it on like the nearby sensors, where their fears were kind of confirmed whenever he got a hold of Agnes, who basically told them that if they didn't get far enough away, that this engine was going to implode on itself, creating like a singularity that would suck things back into it. So the OMAG wouldn't really be able to get too close without endangering the whole ship itself. So they were kind of on their own. But one of the nat 20s we had of the night was Glarb's piloting check, so he was able to get far enough away. And you guys had seen more or less in like the rear view mirror that this like grapefruit size, like pitch black sort of orb expanded out rapidly and then imploded on itself, and there was kind of like a rippling effect as you guys had like fully got out of the range there. Everybody had made it back to the ship where they were greeted by Shanti, having woken up in a room by himself. Well, not by himself, with the rest of his crew from the Conquistador, as the party had left him to go onto the Harvester. He had kind of complained about them kind of rummaging through his stuff, because the neural inhibitors had still been on Shanti's person. So, like, remembering that Shanti had them, they had kind of like searched through your stuff. Where they learned that Shanti also partook in the local, or the solar system's common gambling game called Crackle, which was kind of like a hybrid between Yahtzee and like poker. So he had like random dice and cards in his pocket where you could tell that he had like an extra ace equivalent up his sleeve and some loaded dice.
Oh
But as he greeted everybody, he had mentioned that he had now doubled the size of the crew because all of the previous Conquistador members had come back to join the OMAG as well. So meta-wise, you guys have people to fill in if anybody's missing from the session. So there's NPCs effectively on the ship. When we get into the starship stuff, effectively you guys can beef up to a large starship, which gives you up to 20 personnel. So you're currently sitting at 12. But we'll get into the weeds of that here in a little bit.
The Conquistador dose. Yes.
One of the key things that kind of had come to everybody's attention was that the OMAG was a living creature. So Nia had kind of been infatuated with potentially trying to connect with this. So one of the things Nia did after getting back to the ship was trying to mentally link with the OMAG.
Oh, that's
Uh,
right.
she had confirmed, because they had kind of been told by Agnes that the OMAG was more or less an infant. But she had also confirmed that this creature kind of dealt in emotions and it considered you guys family. Um, so it was very, very pleased that you guys had made it back safely, and that it was like kind of happy that there was now this communion between Nia and the ship itself.
Wow.
John had taken it upon himself to go into the holodeck almost immediately upon returning because he wanted to talk with Agnes. He made a point of programming the holodeck to be like a 1950s diner with her in a like 1950s wife outfit, like the polka dot dress and everything, and he's trying to have like a moment with her. Basically, they'd gone through kind of like everything that's happened since they have been kind of separated. This is where Agnes had confirmed that the OMAG was kind of an infant. And then John had given her his like printout of where all the swarm vessels were in the solar system because they had managed to get this on the ship. And she kind of like, well, do you have a digital version of this so that's easier to send over to the Premax? He's like, no. And basically they kind of like had their first, not couple fight because they're not necessarily a couple yet, but sort of their first fight. Because she was kind of calling out like the antiquated analog, because it wasn't just a printout, it was like the 1970s printer printout where it still had like the perforated edges on the side. So she effectively had to scan it in to send over to the Premax. But in a tiff, John had left to go spend some time with his Nyack and kind of like cool off. Raya had followed this up by coming in to the holodeck because she wanted to make sure that like Castrovel was actually safe. So she's like trying to pull up on the infosphere to confirm this, and kind of like not really getting what she's hoping for. She realized that the PWC never recognized that Castrovel was under attack by the swarm. So there's no information showing that the swarm had been removed from the planet either. So like she can't get confirmation that everything's okay because there's no information saying it was ever in trouble. But as she kind of like went down the rabbit hole of this like kind of like spiraling, she started looking at other planets to see if there's any indication of swarm there, and she finally put together that there's hot spots of like unseasonal droughts. So basically like droughts in places that shouldn't have droughts. And that was where the swarm was on Castrovel, was all these regions with droughts. And she had been able to kind of like pinpoint on other planets the most likely locations of where the swarm were based off of these unusual droughts.
That's cool.
Um,
Wait, just for clarification, the droughts, were they a cause or like was it
for brevity, if you guys recall, what was happening on Castrovel is the life force was effectively being sucked out of the planet, which forces a drought to happen.
I understand. Okay.
Glarb, having heard that the Nyack effectively is a narcotic once it inserts its virus into your blood, had went to go investigate this Nyack because he was really interested in turning his blood into drugs.
Oh my god, I forgot about this.
So he was trying to get the Nyack to kind of like infect him, which was what was kind of funny is Glarb had been the one that called down Gleamgazer, and Nia had come in immediately after, which Gleamgazer had been warmed to. She like inadvertently had mentioned of like, oh, you were able to get him down. Like I thought John would have, but like I guess not. And like John like eventually just whatever and like left because he was upset that like all these other people were having more emotional connection.
With my animals and me.
There was another moment in here where Glarb and John have a brief discussion about like John's fight with Agnes and basically not being able to like read the room. And Glarb's like, well, maybe like you need to do like some interpersonal sort of like introspection. And John, I had him roll on this, had kind of like thought about it for a little bit, and he came to conclusion it's not him, it's everybody else. And that's part of the reason why he left is like he was done with like everybody else sort of like second guessing him, and had moved on. To finish off our session was our big sort of cliffhanger where following the upload that John had submitted, the Premax Kumara Melacruz had responded and had requested that they all meet to have a meeting with her. When the hologram had come up and she started talking, she told you that like it was great that you guys had managed to clear out the enemy on Castrovel, but about the same time that you guys had cleared this out, they had picked up the fleet of swarm vessels on their early warning system in the like space between galaxies. At the same time that they had been able to pick up these enemy ships, all of the planetary defenses across the entire solar system had been taken out simultaneously.
That's right. It, like blackout across the freaking galaxy.
Effectively, you guys have 2 months based off of the subspace travel that they're currently operating with before they enter the solar system, and they don't expect the planetary defenses to be back up by that point in time. She had recommended that you guys reach out to the free captains since they're the largest fleet in the solar system, and based off of your guys' prior connections, she thought you had the best chance. And that is where we're going to pick up. So if you guys wanted to have any more dialogue with Kumara Melacruz, since we kind of ended abruptly last session, we could do that now. Effectively, we're going into about a 2 months downtime, sort of prep time. I have notes for a handful of different things that I already had written down that you guys were interested in, but this is also the time to bring up any other things. But currently, the hologram is still active. Kind of waiting for your guys' response on how to act.
Are we going back to Avalon 5?
You guys are currently in orbit around Castrovel on your ship, speaking to Kumara on a secure channel.
But the goal is to go back to Avalon 5?
You don't necessarily have to go to Absalom Station.
Absalon, sorry. I don't know why I kept saying Avalon 5.
I think Avalon 5 is either...
Is that the robot world?
Avalon is the robot world.
With the computer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
You guys kind of have the option to go anywhere. To meet with the free captains, you would go to this Dysphoria, which is effectively this solar system's asteroid belt. That's where they reside.
Of course.
But there's nothing pushing you in any direction at the moment, just a recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah. Free captain's back on top.
Well,
And I try to raise my hand up and...
I mean, we've had a loose agreements with them for the last 50 solar cycles, so we've kind of always had them on top, but if whatever gets you there.
Is this
Kumara.
Kumara? Okay. I'll just. Are we the only people that you are looking to deal with this problem right now?
At the moment, as we've discussed before, the inner circle hasn't made it public about the swarm. I don't know how quickly they're going to turn that decision, because we're going to need to kind of have all forces on deck. You are the only registered team with the Pack World Council that is privy to the inner workings of the swarm, aside from the team that was sent here first, which it seems like you confirmed likely died at the Mantid Reserve.
Oh, for fuck's sake. It's all up to us. We're screwed. We're screwed. They don't want you back. They kicked you out for a reason, and then you tried to get back with your friend who was your actual lover, and now it's weird, and they want us to go talk to them.
We seem pretty important, huh?
Does this new responsibility include a pay increase?
I can crank it. Give me just a sec. Well, I'm inclined to give you a pay raise from the 2,000 credits that you guys get already. But I don't necessarily have the authority to increase your guys' pay. I assume the inner circle is probably going to...
Oh, sorry, I meant that as a meta question.
Oh, she was asking
Oh, I see.
about whether or not you guys were going to get additional pay.
I think it's a very fair point to bring up, Raya. And Kumara, I don't know if you think,
Oh, hold on. No, I muted it.
Go.
I trust me, I do want to do the right thing. However,
Sarah, can you test out how well your mic, or not your mic, but how well my volume increase for you worked?
Yeah, sure. All you want me to do is just talk?
Yeah, that works. I cranked it to 200%, so we should be good.
Oh, okay. 200.
Yeah, you're over 9,000 now.
Hey.
Your guys' 2,000 credits should have dropped. If not, expect 2,000 credits in your accounts each at this point in the session, meta-wise.
yes, okay. Well, Kumara, how long would it take for us to get back to Avalon? Or, gosh dang it.
Absalon?
Absalom.
Absalon is only one stop away. With your current engine, that is 1d6 days because you're going sublight. But one of the things on the table for tonight is your guys' upgrading your ship because you have leveled up twice since the last time you did a ship upgrade. So you could potentially put a drift engine on. Put a drift engine on. A drift engine level 1 would make it 1d12 hours.
Oh,
We're gonna have to.
yeah.
Like, if
Yeah.
I don't want to push you, but yes.
well, even
But
if
it
we
should
were,
be pretty low cost as far as build points go.
even if we were to go head over to the Freemasons now, like, or not the Freemasons, the Free Captains.
That's a separate guild.
Different secret society.
That one's less about stealing from people. It's stealing for people.
I mean, we'd be like about.
They're technically
halfway out of our time.
acquiring.
They're not that.
And depending on how much planet hopping you guys are doing over the next 2 months, having the drift engine is only going to make it easier.
I think we go to Absalon. Not even just for an engine. See what else we can get.
You can go there. You don't necessarily need to. So if you remember, we'll go ahead and cover a little bit more meta. Castrovel, their nearby moon is their industrial city section. So you guys can do the ship upgrade in Castrovel's space without having to leave.
Oh, okay.
And that kind of, for future, just for sake of brevity, every planet has some sort of shipyard where you can do ship upgrades. It's not always relevant because unless you've done a level up, you don't have additional build points. It would be cycling out a weapon for a new one. This one in particular will be probably a beefier upgrade because I'm going to let you pick a new based model for the ship because you're going from medium to large. So you might have new weapon arrangements. You might have additional weapon slots. The one thing I have already done is I've installed a shuttle bay, so the new shuttle that you guys have acquired off the harvester is installed into the OMAG.
Does it still look like it's not part of our ship?
We will let you guys kind of color that one how you want.
Okay.
We can go like the harvester where like the crystals sort of like go around it so that it like locks in, but it doesn't take like the crystalline structure doesn't overtake the shuttle. If you'd like to keep it that way, we'll also eventually build a stat block for the shuttle. I expect it to be a like tier. It'll be a tiny vessel, same
size.
So it'll be tiny, so it won't have quite as much stuff, but it will give you options with the shuttle if you guys want to do multiple ships in combat later.
So, okay, I think it may be awkward, but from what it seems, the Free Captains are, well, we have them on our side. Our success rate is only going to increase, and I've saved a lot of the people, and I'm a better captain because of it.
I'm a better captain because of it.
Everyone likes the underdog.
Oh man.
I think that is what you are, some type of dog.
I immediately just roll my eyes.
Okay then, yeah. Let's plan on upgrading the ship here.
You guys don't necessarily need to make your decision immediately. I am just making recommendations. Is there anything else that you need from me at this point in time? I will obviously put my recommendations into the inner circle on making it well known what's going on in the swarm, especially based off of your recommendations of how the harvester was able to get a stronger foothold on Castrovel because we kept everyone in the dark.
Right.
I guess the only
Yeah, I
question.
have one question. Why aren't we warning anybody else?
The inner circle's theory was that by warning any of the planets, it would have induced a panic, which rightfully it probably would have. But the counter argument, as you guys have already seen, is it let the swarm sort of expand freely on whatever planets they were.
Yes, now they won't have time to be scared when their planet is under attack.
I can't argue with you, John. There's a reason why I'm not part of the inner circle, and it's because I don't necessarily agree with their philosophies on a lot of things.
So, okay. I know you were giving us about a 2-month time frame where you feel that all, well, shit will hit the fan, essentially. Is there a more specific ETA on when we should have our communications done and our goals achieved? Is it within that 2 months, or is there a sooner timeline? And as far as communicating that,
You put it out. It's okay. We'll put it. Well, it's hard to give me any sort of concrete things, T. What you have kind of confirmed with these vessels that were in orbit over the planets is they have the means of getting into our solar system without us detecting it, using these void engines. So until we're able to inspect and understand these void engines on another level, in theory, more vessels can show up in the solar system at any given time. The main body of the swarm fleet is troubling by sublight, which is the only reason we can give you a 2-month warning in the first place. My guess is it's all of their small ships have this sort of void leap that allows them to go in undetected, and it's their larger warships that need to travel by sublight. So the main threat is probably 2 months out, but don't expect travel in our local solar system to be easygoing for the foreseeable future. John's printout is the most accurate thing we've seen with any sort of ship location, so you guys are currently the only ones that are aware of anything. My guess is some of this knowledge has probably been passed on to the shuttle that you have, which you might be able to do research on, but there's no guarantee they were uploading enemy locations across the detachable shuttle.
well, and I'm just theorizing out loud here. When we were eradicating the forces not too long ago, all of their forces were on a hive mind. If we angered one, we angered all of them. Do they have some kind of system in place where they're able to communicate that easily throughout other vessels across the solar system?
To be honest, T, this is well outside of anything anybody has been able to know with the swarm in this war or the previous. You guys have encountered creatures that have only been speculated to exist because no one has gotten this close to the heart of the swarm. The minor hive mind, we've had a couple accounts of. The creature you encountered on the harvester has never been heard of.
So you say that we are legendary.
Well, I'm glad at least someone can make light of the current events as we're proceeding forward.
Well, I feel that this is a decision that should fall on one person here. I say that we go for it. Three captains.
Yes, I don't see any other way around it.
Okay.
Well, I will leave you guys to your devices. Keep me updated. I'll let you know what I hear from the inner circle as soon as I kind of get the information. But like I said, you should have had 2,000 credits transferred over for your monthly sort of allotment as members of the PWC, but I will do what I can to see if I can increase that number as we keep moving forward. The best of luck. We're all sort of at the mercy of what you and whatever the rest of our teams can piece together over the next coming months.
Okay, well, I'm done with this conversation.
Aye, Captain.
The secure channel will get killed at this point. Just managed to get a burger off the.
A little squirt.
So like I kind of alluded to for the first part here, kind of how you guys move forward is up to you. I imagine that ship upgrade would probably take precedence. Raya, I know that you were looking to go back down to Castrovel to check on your family.
Yes.
You guys now have new crew members, so I have stuff for T interacting with his old crew. And then obviously whatever other prep stuff you're looking for. I know, John, I've got notes for you with Rejuvenor, as well as looking into the gurus if you go that route. But
So as far as ship upgrades go, like in meta terms, how long do you think that would take? Because it would cut our travel time in half going to do that. But like, how long would we be expecting to wait for the repair?
I would say maybe a day once you put in what you want to have happen.
I see.
As far as like the major changes, consider that the OMAG, I'm going to let you guys decide what the new large form looks like meta-wise, as far as like what the weapon placements look like, that type of stuff. But the OMAG had already gone to this size before you'd even gotten back to it. Because it's tied to your guys' average party level. So when you leveled up, so does the OMAG. So it's grown and aged along with you guys. So it is now CR6 as well, or level 6. And because your crew has increased so much, it's now a large. As far as your options with that go, let me pull it up. There are, I think, I think those are your gummy worms, freeze-dried gummy worms.
This one almost tastes like the Frankenstein cereal.
Oh,
bit,
yeah?
A little bit, huh? A little bit.
So your guys is...
Yeah, Pop Rocks, too.
Well, I was just thinking the Tahine gummy bears.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder how those would freeze dry.
Oh, yeah, that would be interesting.
Oh, those are delicious.
Let me get in here.
Set it down. I'll take it.
So, well, we should do the ship stuff first, yeah? Mm-hmm. And then we'll get into the...
Yeah, let me put... So your options for... So for large, you have the Destroyer, Heavy Freighter, Heavy Hauler, Tanker, and Vermilith. Your Destroyer, what you're going to get is 4 expansion bays, so that's like extra things that you get to add on, like the shuttle bay, that type of stuff.
Sure.
Your maximum crew is...
finally have a polishing room for myself.
Yes. Your maximum crew is 20. You get 2 heavy weapons on the forward, 1 light on the aft, 1 light on the port, 1 light on the starboard, and you get 1 turret. So if I'm not mistaken, that's 2 additional weapons from what you currently have.
Yeah. Okay. Because we had 4 previously.
Yeah.
Your critical threshold's 30, cost is 30. The freighter critical threshold's 24, cost is 40. You get 8 expansion bays with this one though, so double the amount on the other one. The downside is forward, you get 2 light, 1 heavy, no aft, 1 heavy on the port, 1 heavy on the starboard, and no turret. So it's a little bit.
What side is the aft?
That's the rear.
Oh, okay.
Remember, because it kind of sounds like ass.
Yeah.
So effectively, you're sacrificing 1 weapon, but you're kind of trading light for heavy because most of the light weapons become heavy on that one. But you also have a little bit less health. That's why the critical threshold is lower. So anytime you take 24 damage, you have a critical on one of your weapon systems or one of your systems on the ship.
Well,
Your heavy hauler is 28 on that critical threshold. Only 2 expansion bays, 1 heavy forward, 1 heavy port, 1 heavy starboard. But basically, it has an expanded engine bay, so it has a larger engine if you go that one. Kind of conceptually think of that as like it's trying to haul more stuff with less space.
I see.
The tanker, 2 expansion bays, max cruise 10, so I would rule that one out because you guys are currently setting it 12 already. The Vermilith, critical threshold is 26. You get 1 light, 1 heavy on the forward, 1 light on the aft, 1 light on the port, 1 light on the starboard, and 1 light on the turret. So basically the same there as your destroyer. It just has a smaller critical threshold, but it has extreme resistance. So an EMP weapon is less effective against this one.
That's
I
the
think-
vermouth?
I think we ought to go like heavy weaponry, heavy engine, light hold.
Oh, you think so?
Light what?
Like blast cannon type of vibe.
Okay.
So you're thinking, of those options, which one then? Because this is your base frame, so that's going to kind of like everything else built off of that.
At first I was thinking destroyer, but destroyer only had heavy, right?
No, the destroyer almost looks like the Vermilith. The Vermilith has 7 expansion bays, so that's one of its big things. But the destroyer was 2 heavy on the forward versus 1 heavy, 1 light on the forward. Otherwise, the Vermilith and destroyer look almost exactly the same. The
Honestly-
destroyer also has more HP
And
as a base.
Well, like honestly, just the idea of trying to like piloting a destroyer through the galaxy, that sounds pretty badass to me.
because I was between those two, because it's
Mhm.
basically the same. The only difference is like maybe
The destroyer doesn't have the
what's the
bonus
mobility?
EMP, so like the Vermilith has more expansion bays and it has this extreme resistance. An EMP weapon has half its normal duration
I
against
like
a vessel
I like that.
built. So basically, like if it tries to take out your electrical systems, it's only going to last half as long.
But with the downside that it doesn't hit as hard as a destroyer.
Well, the destroyer, both of its heavies are in the forward, so like
we'd
you
have
still have to
be patient.
position very well with the destroyer because it's light everywhere else. With the Vermilith, it's light everywhere else, and it trades one of the heavies for a light on the forward. So like,
Maybe that's worth it then. Like traded
Yeah.
1 heavy for a light and added EM protection.
yeah. The only other downside is it has a slightly less hull points, so it's 26 for crit threshold versus 30. So it's a little bit lower in that sort
I
of
think
regard.
4 is worth that cost. Okay. What do you think?
Raya.
I agree with the last one, having it.
With the EMP resistance.
Yeah. I'm really bad with aircraft, so I'm
all
gonna
pretty new.
trust the 2 experienced
Yeah.
D&D players. But the last
Well,
one made more
the
sense
starship
to me.
combat is new to everybody because that's not really in D&D. So
That makes me feel better. The last one that we were talking about made more sense to me, I think.
Okay. Down for that.
okay,
I'm gonna assume we're probably gonna do more combat in space.
yes, okay.
So, okay, explain to me kind of meta-wise. Now that we have 12 members on our crew, and that includes us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, everybody who is not manning the station, like, Are those just guys that can go and help if part of the like hold gets damaged, or like what are their roles when combat's happening?
We can kind of use them if needed for sort of additional roles. So there's like some minor crew member roles and whatnot in there. Uh, the main sort of use of it is for me as a DM. If I only have 3 players, that means I have a captain, a pilot, and maybe one other position or whatever. So meta-wise, there are NPCs that I can use to fill in those gaps where, like, I can have Agnes set in as science officer if Raya's not there, or Hargrove, sexy Lashunta can take over as captain whenever Shanti's not there, since he was already trying to usurp your rule on the conquistador.
Sure.
But you guys can kind of use them as you see fits, if needed. But you think like the repairs to the hull or the ship, that was already happening from engineering, and instead of having, we can RP that Raya is getting assistance from XYZ NPCs, but Raya's still the one rolling.
Okay,
Right.
understood. All right.
And then we don't get any extra slots, right? Like for manning the ship or anything, since it's a bigger ship, or we're going into a larger ship.
Are you talking like as far as like how many people are on the ship?
Not people, but like you know how you have one person that's an engineer, one person that's a pilot. There's no extra roles, right? It's still the same.
No. You technically can, as far as like medicines goes, because if there's multiple player characters, you can have multiple engineers, multiple science officers, multiple weapons officers. So you can have multiple people roll for those. But because these are NPCs, I wouldn't roll additional times in those sort of areas because they're not being player controlled. As also a cookie, especially since but if someone's missing, that's whenever the NPCs would get used, so we could fill. So like you guys will never be short a position in combat, but you'll never get additional rolls unless additional players are here. And with you guys having, I think we're at 7 at the table currently when everybody's playing. So you guys already were overfilling how many rolls there technically are.
Right. All right. Then I guess a follow-up question for me would be, our teeny ship, or however you want to do it, the escape pod or
The shuttle pod.
the shuttle pod. Are there any upgrades that we can do to that? So, like, if
We definitely can do that. I haven't built it out yet, but we can definitely work on that tonight as well if we'd like.
and should the situation ever need it, like a self-destruct button, maybe, or
Oh my god!
So these are all options we can kind of walk through. What you guys are currently sitting at is you have 134 of your 250 PCU used. You're technically over threshold on your build points at the moment.
okay.
And I'm not sure what's pulling the most out of that. It looks like we're slightly over on what it recommends for your engine, but it's only 2 build points there, so I wouldn't worry too much on it. But it might be what weapons you guys have selected. So when we go to fix weapon selection here in a little bit, that might be part of it. As far as the shuttle, depending on what build you pick for it, will determine what sort of stuff we have on there. So you could build it to be more of an attack vessel, but that might limit it to where only one person can be it at a time, which means you could use it in combat at the same time. But that's where like that person does their own piloting check, own weapons check, all of that and the sort of thing, and their weapons check is kind of like reduced because if it's a single pilot vessel, it's you only really get to do one action as a player character per turn, and then you get like a minor action to do. So like you could have the ship move in a straight line so you can fire a weapon accurately, or you could do a quick fire and have like a reduced effect
Right,
with the
okay.
weapon. So
I see. All right. Well, then I guess plan is to go to Castrovel then.
you guys are already here,
Yeah.
so you just need
Okay.
to move over to the shipyards on the moon.
All right. Are there like any other vendors there for like gear and whatnot?
Um, yeah, we'd say there's some vendors you can tell that like uh the main sort of part of doing upgrades and everything on Casherville is definitely on the homeworld itself. This is more like if you stopped in to like refuel or like
Oh, I see.
do some ship upgrades, you go to the moon to do it.
Right.
Because Casherville is more organic and it's nature, so like they don't like having the industrial stuff on the home planet. So that's why they have it all on the moon. But you guys could get items here. But you could also put in your request of what you want to have happen to the ship and then shuttle down to the planet.
Okay,
And
that may be what I at least want to start out doing. Just, I need to get some things to help bolster
Mhm.
uh,
It's a melee
T-
combat.
T's melee proficiency.
Okay.
So a random idea just popped into my head. Can we role play asking Agnes what she wants to be done since it's technically her ship? Like, I kind of want to have that conversation.
Yeah. Where do you want said conversation to have happen?
I mean, we could do it right after the phone call ends.
Yeah.
Possible, because then we have everyone in the room, and then if John, since it's his girlfriend or not girlfriend,
It's complicated.
Did you need something, Raya?
um, so we're talking about possibly upgrading the ship. And is there anything that you want, Agnes?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. As the onboard AI, it's my purpose is mostly to serve you. The whole reason why the hardened hologram body was formed was to be able to interact with you guys more on a personal level. But really, I think the only thing I thought of was maybe doing the upgrade to allow more personalized crew quarters. While it does consume a little bit of the build capacity of the ship, it would give you guys each your own rooms, allowing for individuality on the ship versus sort of the hangar base setup that we currently have.
That sounds beautiful.
Fair.
What about you, John? What should we get your Agnes? Or do you think she would want?
I don't know. The closet space I have is quite functional. Maybe something similar could be even right next door.
Perfect.
Um, John looks a little unsure about how he feels. Everybody getting their own big personalized individual room. He thought the amount of room we had was sufficient before. But he'll say, well, I guess maybe it's not so bad. Maybe we could have a space for my pet. With a little corral or something.
That might be
We can always
advised.
upgrade. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that might be advised since he's more or less formed his nest up in engineering. So
We
the
can also
Nyack,
upgrade
the
your
fucking
closet
pterodactyl thing.
into maybe a closet room, like a broom closet space.
I mean, we could try and fit it into that. It's actually a large creature though, so like it that's might not.
I, for the love of God, would not like to live in the same space as that thing. um, well, let's do this shit then. Let's upgrade this puppy.
Okay, you guys will need to pick a new thruster because the one that you guys currently have is built for medium vessels. So for large, um, there's four options you have, and they're associated with the speed. So you have one that's speed 4, speed 6, speed 8, speed 10. That's how many hexes you can move. per turn.
Oh, okay.
The speed 4 gives a +2 to piloting checks. The speed 6 gives a +1. And then as far as build points go, it goes 4, 6, 8, 10. Basically equal to whatever size engine you're putting on it.
What? How many tiles do we need to move to turn this large ship?
Large, if I'm not mistaken, is 4 hexes.
So we need
You
to
gotta
move
go at least 6 or 8.
at least 6 or 8 then. Because we need to be able to move, turn, and be in position and not compromise on one or the
Because
other.
if we have to, like, if we only have 4 spaces and we need to turn,
Yeah.
then we're
Let me
already at a
confirm your turn.
disadvantage, because that's such a huge tempo loss.
Yeah.
How many build points do we currently have to spend?
You guys are technically over right now, so as we're going through, we'll need to kind of like refine down. My guess is part of it is I think you had multiple heavy weapons on your previous build. I guess the maneuverability associated with the base frame. You guys have average maneuverability in this one, which is you need to go two hexes before turning, so it's not as bad.
So did our
So going to large didn't necessarily change it as which base frame you pick. So since you picked this base frame, you still have average maneuverability, which is what you had on the last version.
So with getting a large ship, did our capacity for build points like increase, or is that like leveled up with the ship?
That's tied to level.
Okay. But so if it is
You're-
tied to level and we're swapping to a larger ship, that still doesn't change.
Mhm. What you get with the larger ship, I think, is your PCU, which is like your energy consumption, essentially.
I see.
All right. So
I think she knocked it, which is what blew it up.
so I guess a follow-up question of that would be where. I mean, because I'm still pretty new at this, where do you think we can compromise in order to get some of these other additions?
Build points. I guess our base frame took up a little bit more build points than what it recommends.
Oh, I see.
But to be honest, I think that base frame compensated with the EMP anyways. So like, I know the other place that you guys are gonna have to like adjust things anyways is weapons, and that's probably where you'll have to cut some corners a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, because we had our rocket was pretty. That was definitely our main point of damage.
Yeah, because you're currently under recommendation on armor, and you have a +4 to AC with your current armor, so like I wouldn't change anything there. Your shields, you're currently under on that one too, and you went with the Aeon 30s, which are the rechargeable shields, which every minute they recharge a certain percentage.
Yeah, I mean, because all right, so this is gonna have
Or
to be
3
more
per
of a
round.
group decision then, because like I'm fine with rolling a glass cannon, which would mean that I'm fine with like, for lack of a better term, cheaping out on armor and shield, in order to have like better weapons and like engines. So,
Now,
but what is everyone
I
else?
will say, as a GM, I'm not necessarily hard and fast stuck to the build rule cost on the ship, since I'm using the ship as a narrative tool as far as it like being a living creature and everything. If we can stick close to it, so like I don't want you to necessarily double how many build points you have, but like as long as you're in the ballpark.
All right,
So like right now, you guys are kind of in the ballpark. You're 14 points over out of the. So you had 155 to work with. You're currently sitting at 169.
Gotcha.
Nice. The interstellar drive, if you want one, for the large, there's a handful of them,
Well, maybe we can like.
and they only consume PCU on those. So
Well, because with the heavy weapons that we have the junk cannon and the rocket, right? Those are our two heavies.
yes, I think you guys only have one heavy weapon now, though.
Okay.
Oh, really? And that was our lob or whatever.
Yeah. So currently you have a light cannon missile launcher, an arcane rail, a flak thrower, a light
Flak
explosion injector, and a heavy solar cannon.
Well, we didn't really use. I think we've maybe used the solar cannon once.
You used it
Yeah.
once, and basically one shot at the vessel you used it on.
So it's like a Spartan laser, right? Just
Yeah,
shoots
the
up.
hard what was causing you issues with that is it's on your forward, so you have to angle correctly to be able to use it. So like it took you guys a very long time to be able to line up where your forward was on the ship you wanted to use it on.
So okay, well maybe we swap
You
to a
gonna hold it
different
down?
heavy. What
You
are
sure?
what are the lists? What is the list of heavies that we can choose from?
Oh, very
I'm sure
long.
it's extensive, but I guess that's a good starting point. Like I know you're being generous with the build points, but I still want to try to get that closer.
Yeah, so your heavy solar cannon is consuming 10 build points currently.
Maybe we can just move where the solar cannon is. Keep the solar cannon.
Well, the solar you only have one heavy spot, so it has to be on the forward.
I see.
So, in terms of build points,
Or would we not really save much if we were to swap?
the cheapest heavy weapon cost 8 build points. You're only going to save 2 by
Okay.
changing out that
Oh,
heavy.
okay.
So, like
I don't know if that's
dropping,
worth it.
yeah, you could drop it entirely to save 10, but like
So I guess really the only thing we'd want to really change
is add a drift engine.
is add like the better living spaces, right?
And the engine.
Yeah, and I would, the drift engine.
We could upgrade our shield potential. How many build points do we have in this?
You guys are already over.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're already over.
That's what I was saying. Like maybe we could try to.
Part of what pushed you over was the shuttle bay that I told you now have. So like, if you wanted to not have a shuttle bay, you could drop that, but I was kind of giving that to you.
No.
Well, as far as that's
like it.
concerned, maybe we just deal with the engine and the lodging.
Yeah.
Okay, and this 169 is me already having upgraded the lodging based off of the RP you already had.
Perfect.
So really the only thing left would be to put an interstellar drive in, and the interstellar drive only costs you PCU, so you're not consuming any more build points to put an interstellar drive in.
Cool. Just had to drop our ship off the Sid so we can put in the.
Yeah, so for
Yeah, we have to go through a couple of other cutscenes before he's done.
Yeah.
So for large, the one part you need to do is determine what type of engine rating you want, and this has to do with travel time. So
But also how far we can move in combat.
interstellar drive is basically your
Different.
warp engine.
Oh, okay.
So it's only when you're going through the drift.
Okay, so what are the options there?
So your ratings are 1, 2, 3, or 4.
And how much PCU do we have left?
You guys have 155.
I'd say we go 4 then.
Well, how much is the 6?
4, I guess, is just outside of threshold. That's 175.
Oh, okay.
All right, well then let's go 3.
Your 3 would cost you 150, so you'd be able to do that. So that would be a drift engine signal major. Effectively, what this is going to do for you guys is, because it's a drift engine 3, instead of that being 1D 12 hours, that would be with a drift engine 1, would be 1D 4 hours.
Hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay.
And
Fast ship.
that's anywhere inside the current solar system. To go
nice.
to like another solar system in your guys' current galaxy, it's basically 1d6 days to solar system hop.
I see.
Okay, so the way that I see it, I mean, we're still only level 6. And being that we're this important force, I feel like our ship should be really good at one thing, right? And if that, like, thing that we're really good at is getting somewhere really fast, I mean, hey.
Yeah, double down on the speed.
Yeah, so you guys got to have speed, and you guys have pretty good on weapons with this whole setup. So,
We're sacrificing shield, right? For everything else.
technically, I didn't make you guys sacrifice anything to make this happen. So,
Oh, okay.
We're just not getting as many upgrades as we thought we might have because of our current CP.
oh, I guess that did cost build points. It's not listed in.
Oh.
Oh, because it's based off of the size. That makes more sense.
Okay.
So that was a modifier times the size category. So
Well,
it costs you
I
40,
know
but
that
I'm not worried about it.
I know that like the shuttle space, like, or whatever it was called, the shuttle bay.
Mm-hmm.
I realize that's pushing us over, but I guess I lack an understanding of like.
I mean, it didn't push you over by much. That was only 4 to put a shuttle bay in.
But even still,
But it did consume 2 of the 7 bays you have. So to put a shuttle bay in, you lost 2, but you had 7. So
I guess I just lack the understanding of building a ship efficiently or in a cost-effective way.
Hey, you're the free captain here, dude.
Hey,
What do you mean?
I hire other people to do this for me.
I was gonna say, and as a GM, I'm not super smart on it either, because most of it is like you as a GM give the players what the ship is
I see.
typically what it says, and then here's what it would look like. So like the upgrading and that type of stuff is a little bit more nuanced.
Okay,
And these are recommendations on how it tells you to do. So like the build limits, I think, is in the core rules, but I'm comfortable with homebrewing that it's not necessarily going to negate.
okay.
You guys aren't going over going crazy with what weapons you're installing or like throwing in all this extra stuff.
I guess I just don't want to be passively taking advantage.
To be honest, with Starship Combat, I don't think there's really been a chance for you guys to necessarily take advantage. It's all of us are learning the mechanics of how that works.
Yeah.
So, like, as a GM, giving you guys a tough challenge in Starship Combat has been kind of difficult because of like what that looks like in space.
Right.
And it's also you guys have multiple people all talking about how to do something on a turn versus me having to do it all for a vessel on my own.
Right.
But
Okay. Well, then I guess I'm fine with all of this if everybody else is. Raya, what do you think?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good with that. And it sounds like to me like he's consenting as well. So
Oh my gosh.
it's not a no.
I guess. So we're just gonna go to the moon then, get all this done.
Yeah, so for brevity, I guess while we're on the topic, are you guys wanting to do anything with the shuttle right now, or do you want me to just kind of build the baseline of what it looks like, and then we can re-attack that one at a later date?
I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, the shipyards on Castroville are fairly efficient because of basically it's not like it's a thin atmosphere, so like it's not like holding on to a lot of these fumes created from the industrial complex overly heavy. So like the air is clean when you get out, but you know it's more because it's being basically vented to space freely, essentially.
Okay.
So like it's kind of like being up at altitude where it's a little bit tougher to breathe when you guys kind of get out, except for John. And Raya because of your crystal. But they're pretty quick to kind of like take your guys' recommendations on what you want changed to the ship. A lot of what you wanted, you were able to kind of like put into like a panel on the OMAG, and you kind of could see the crystals sort of morphing to adjust. So like once, similar to how it was whenever the shuttle had sort of approached, like that morphed around to allow the shuttle bay to dock. That sort of thing happened to kind of like accommodate the larger size, the new drift engine, basically a port next to the engine and engineering had sort of like opened up, allowing for the drift engine to be installed. A lot of that had already taken place. So it's basically you just telling them what equipment needed to be installed on the ship itself, which was just the 2 main things. So like the rooms themselves had already sort of like morphed to expand to accommodate a 20 size person crew. So there's 20 rooms added, and I'll update the map of the ship at a later date. But all of you have about a 10 to 15 foot, 10 by 5, 15 by 5 foot room that you get to call your own. That if you'd like to elaborate on what you've done to it during this downtime, we could go through that too. But that is now your space.
It would just look like that episode from Futurama.
Where it's just Bender's closet and the rest is like you
Yeah.
only have the first 10 cubic feet.
But then and he like opens the other door and it's like the rest of the apartment.
Isn't that whenever like
Fry
Fry
moves
moves in,
in.
and then
Yeah.
whenever he finds out there's a basement that's being or a closet that's being unused, he's like, "Yeah, I'll just take the closet then."
Yeah, like Fry goes into the telephone booth that's meant to, like, you know, off yourself, and yeah, that's funny. I guess the only thing that that T would want done with his room would more or less make it a trophy room of times past of accomplishments that T has completed. More or less, it's a trophy room of like, oh, look at the glory days.
Oh my god.
And there are specifically not any portrayals of a purposeful or accidental explosion of said ships. There's not really any mention of that anywhere. Just of the other.
One of the bits we'll have in here, T, is while the self destruction of the Conquistador was kind of like a big part of what got you to go down this mystic route. You guys did land on the planet there, which is Octurne, which is the furthest planet out, which is full of undead sort of nightmare creatures. So basically, you guys had used an escape pod to land on the planet's surface there, which brought on all these nightmare creatures sort of attacking your crew. And you, with your two commanders, Asteray and Hargrove, managed to fend off these creatures until the three captains managed to show up and basically end the remaining vessels in orbit that had been attacking the Conquistador. You all survived without losing any crew members on the planet, which was a feat in itself. So, like, there's a memorabilia from that because while you went on your sabbatical, all of your crew's career sort of like leapfrogged off of the Valor sort of on Octurne.
Can I
itself.
say that I hung on to and preserved one of the undead's hands? It's
like you petrified it, and so it's like a petrified log, but it's a fucking arm.
Yeah. This is the forearm that face. Armed combat, and you see whose arm lost in that battle.
Oh my god. Like a retired war vet.
Yeah.
All your things up on the wall.
That's like people that have been in the military know that like you get that ribbon for literally just like being in the free captains. It's a recruitment ribbon.
A recruitment ribbon.
I mean, I won't complain. I've got like 4 of those ribbons where like one was because I joined during a war, one's because I'm serving during a war. Like, Delilah, what do you got for your room?
Lila and
Are you asking me?
You're next, so be thinking of it.
Oh, sorry.
yeah, hold on, I muted us.
Okay.
She really likes gold and stuff. And she's also like, kind of like a pack rat in a way. So like anything shiny. Yeah. Anything. I don't know. I just love shinies, basically. So you'll just find random little knickknacks. Some people might find it garbage, but I like.
But truthfully, how much of it actually is garbage?
Probably most of it.
Oh, okay.
It reminds me of that creature from Harry Potter that's like always stealing
Oh,
the shiny
creature?
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, you're talking about the Niffler.
The Niffler?
That's in Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the idea of like having closet space to like hide in. That's
Okay.
Like a little cubby.
Yeah.
Safe room.
Panic room.
Safe room in this 15 by 5 wall.
She's feeling overwhelmed. She locks herself in the closet.
Go away.
John sleeps in the closet. This is fine.
I don't really know outside of that. Probably just like a little like hiding hole bed too. I like the idea of a loft bed in real life, so that's
Okay.
a little.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, it's got like the fucking like sunlight.
lamp.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the heat lamp.
The heat lamp.
Oh,
But
perfect.
since she's tiny, it's just like a little, like an Etsy bulb, like super tiny.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. Okay, Ryan, what do you got?
So I am going to assume in my head I'm picturing because she's such a book nerd and she grew up in like the library pretty much. So I'm thinking like almost like a corner of a library. I'm thinking books everywhere
Okay.
and like a wooden desk with like scattered books and papers and notebooks and like planet geography all over the walls. And then like I just have the most basic bed because sleep doesn't matter to me because I'm always lost in the books. So I'm thinking like it's like Beauty and the Beast, like beautiful library, and then my corner bed is just like
Fucking
random
blanket on the
sheets.
floor.
Like it doesn't even make it. Yeah, like it's not important to me at all. So it's just like in a corner somewhere, and like the rest of the room is just like desk space and books and notebooks, and literally that's all I picture for her.
Oh, perfect. Okay. At this point, I know there's a couple people that still wanted to do stuff on Castrovel. So we'll kind of go around the table, see what people want to do, and I'm going to ask everybody what they want to do, and then if there's overlap, we'll kind of go in that order. So like, we won't necessarily do what you say right off the bat. That way, if someone else is also like wanting to go down the planet, we can have the shuttle ride happen when everybody goes together instead of necessarily everybody kind of like doing stuff separate. But
Right.
Raya, was there anything you're wanting to do on here? I know you had mentioned potentially wanting to go down to visit your parents.
Yeah, so I wanted to visit my parents, and then I wanted to visit the librarian that we visited early on in the story and kind of check in on him as well.
Okay, for him, he's on Absalon Station, so that'll take you guys at least one jump after the ship's repaired. But as far as
I
Mantic
lied,
Reserve,
never mind.
we can still do that. It wouldn't happen on Castrovel per se.
That's
Uh,
fine because I thought he was on this planet as well. So really, I just want to like check in on my parents.
what do you got, Delisle? Was there anything you're wanting to do on Castrovel specifically?
I think people were going down to shop. So,
Perfect.
okay.
John, anything specific or just some shopping or?
Yeah, I wanted to have a conversation with Hubert.
Okay, perfect. Do you want it on the planet or on the ship?
Probably down on Castroville.
Okay.
If he's still there.
Well, he's on the ship with you guys because he was on the
Oh.
Harvester in that fight, so he is currently part of your guys' crew.
Yeah, we'll find somewhere down in Castroville to talk private.
Okay.
In addition to that, the other stuff I want to do involves going back to Absalom.
Or Avalon.
Avalon.
Or
Sorry.
Absalon. I guess it depends. Are you wanting to go the robot homeworld?
No.
Or
Well,
the effectively Earth?
yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then T?
I think it is a well-deserved night on the town with the old crew. I think we're going to go tavern hopping, do some splurging of all of our loot and earnings, spend it all only to procure some more.
Perfect.
But
You were wanting to shop too.
I do want to shop.
Okay.
Flavorfully, I do want to shop, but I want to have a night on the town with the old.
Perfect. So we'll say that everybody, including Shanti's old crew, are hopping on the shuttle to go down together because at a minimum, everybody's wanting to go shop. If you guys want to do anything on the shuttle, speak now. Otherwise, we'll kind of quick travel down to the planet itself, and then I'll kind of break out on what's happening for each person.
Okay, all of you need to sit on laps.
Anybody calling dibs on Hargrove, which was the sexy Lashunta?
John's
John.
a little too nervous to speak up. I can sit on his lap just to make it easier for everyone else. And I'm
You've got
sort
to
of,
explore your options, John.
I'm made up my mind.
And as a reminder, as we're sitting on each other's laps, this has like the sort of like Osprey or like H860 sort of setup where it's got like the seats on the sides, so you could
Oh, okay.
probably sit like 8 people without them having to be on each other's laps. So the fact that T's having anybody sit on anybody's laps is him choosing to.
Listen, safety is key. That is the first lesson I learned from my last adventure.
Do you mean the adventure we just went on, or
Well, I suppose that's a valid point.
Well, the captain did black out on that one, so like,
That was different.
well, I guess you blacked out on the last two then, right?
That was different too.
So you've got Hargrove, which is the Lashunta. You've got Grim Reaper Tides, who's the Formian, and he was the one that kind of like looked aggressive because he's
Yeah,
like
he's
the
a
ant
bug.
sort of guy.
yeah,
And then you had uh, I'm blanking on his name right now, but he's the sort of like flying one.
yeah.
So he's
yeah.
kind of got like a little bit of a mask on, but
yes,
he
that's
kind of
right.
like, I guess the closest sort of bug would be like a wasp, but he doesn't have like the stinger. He's got like more like mantis like arms,
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah,
he can fly like a wasp
Yeah.
would.
So yeah, I guess we just fly the shuttle. I don't expect any super dangerous maneuvers having to fly from the
Not unless you want
faster
them
though.
to.
T will just hop in the piloting seat and just bring us out.
Perfect. Once you guys kind of like land in the main city, Ryo, you weren't shopping, were you?
No.
Okay. Once you guys land in the main area, Ryo will take over the console to like take it from the main hub here out to Manted Reserve. Because if you remember, it was like a couple hour on the like Dragonfly sort of vehicle to
right.
get out to Manted Reserve. It'll be quicker on the shuttle for you, Raya, but I put that right in front of the camera. Look at
I was
that.
going to say something, but I don't.
You're okay.
But we'll go ahead and start with the guys kind of shopping in town. So the rules for shopping are the same as normal. Anything level 6 or lower, expect to be able to find. So if you know what you want and it's that sort of range, you can find it no issues. Anything higher than your guys' current level, that's when we'll roll. Level 7 stuff, you need, it's a 75% chance that you'll find, or 50-50 shot that you'll find it. 25 if it's level 8, and so on. So it
Right.
decreases exponentially on
Right.
that. But who would like to go first?
I don't think I'm going to shop.
Okay. Was it you just wanted to have the conversation with Julie?
Yeah.
Okay. Was there anything specifically you were looking for?
Necessarily. I guess I'm just gonna like tag along with this free.
Free captains.
Yeah,
You're gonna go bar hopping with the free captains.
Yeah, and like probably just like be kind of left out, but like be okay with that, just like there.
You're like the rat on the wall.
Rat on the wall.
I guess gecko.
We tried to report Theodore, but it just Theodore Roosevelt. Wasn't he a Freemason?
Oh, maybe. Shit, I mean, it should have been.
I didn't know where we were going with this joke. I thought you forgot his brother's name, and that's what I thought was happening.
That's a dumb joke. That's probably right.
Fuck.
You're gonna have to remind me how to look up items on. Go on an external site.
Or go to it.
Oh, on edit.
Creators.
Yeah.
Creator and
Okay.
so it's easier to view in there. Yep. As T's pulling up, is there like a specific category of equipment that Delilah would be interested in looking at? So, like firearms, melee weapons, armor,
Maybe like magic.
magical items. Okay. Because I can kind of look at what sort of things we've got in here. Okay, so you'll see like an Aeon Stone, which the Ruby variant. So not only does it function as a comm unit, which kind of doesn't matter because I've kind of given you guys free comm units, at least on the same planets as your party members. It also is a personality upgrade, so you can access computers directly through this crystal, essentially. You've got a another Aeon Stone, Viridian Bulbous. It increases your speed by 10 if you have this one equipped. There's Boost Boots, a Chronal Harness.
Boost boots?
Yeah, the Boost Boots. You can take a move action to move up to your speed. You can also take a swift action to gain a 20-foot enhancement bonus to your land speed for that move action. So basically, briefly increases your move speed. The Chronal Harness. You can re-roll your initiative check at the cost of a resolve point.
I like them.
The Boost Boots or the Crystal? Okay, the Aeon Crystal?
Yeah.
Or Aeon Stone? That would be 4,200 credits, unless you want to barter for them.
So I already have. That didn't.
No, yeah, you guys just picked up 2,000 credits.
Yeah. So I'll. There.
Perfect.
How much do you take on?
4,200 credits. I was gonna say, I think John's sitting on a lot of credits because
Yeah. I haven't bought a lot of things.
no, because I think you really, really want to get a big weapon upgrade, and you keep saving up so that whenever you can finally
Yeah.
purchase one.
Yeah.
You got tea. And this was in like a little shop with like we'll say it's like a Yoski, which is like the little rat folk, and they kind of yeah. These boots are really great because they like let us move really, really fast. And since we're small, we need to be able to move faster than everybody else because otherwise they just throw us across the room. So I highly recommend. I like drawing lightning strikes on mine because it makes me feel faster, but you don't have to do that. But I could do it for free of charge.
Yeah. I'm doing the crystal.
Oh, the crystal. Yeah. This one's good too, but the boots are a little bit more flashy.
I got
Perfect.
What's the name of the?
It's Aeon Stone, comma AEON.
What kind of projection is that?
EAUN?
AEON.
AE.
So I'm probably pronouncing it wrong.
Oh.
And it's the Viridian, so VIRIDIAN. And what's neat about this is it applies to any movement speed you have. So, like if you have a climb or a swim speed, this applies to those as well. I could drop it into the loot one real quick. Give me just a sec.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. GM tools. The lootist. Which is one of the coolest features I've ever fucking had.
Yeah.
Are you guys looking under item? Because that could cause an issue if you're not under.
You may have been, yeah.
This is show maps.
So on.
Oh.
Look at that happen. So on the drop down that where it says add, there's one that says buy or add to inventory. So you just hit the buy and it should automatically deduct the credits. And then you'll need to go to your equipment to actually equip it, but
Okay,
KT,
I'm back.
what were you looking for, good sir?
I don't think my weapon proficiency is really up too much with what I want to do.
You should be proficient at least basic melee.
Basic melee and small arms.
So you should be able to pick up at least a melee weapon that might have more oomph.
Yeah.
Let's look at what we've got in here. Basic melee. Level 6. And I want hand. There we go. So there's a clockwork sword, electric prod, great axe, poly club, retractable stinger. That one's kind of cool sounding. Oh, and it's got a crit feature where it, but its damage isn't super high.
A basic melee. Does the secondary tag matter? Say it's like basic melee two-handed. Does it have to be like basic melee one specifically?
No, so you're proficient with basic melee. What this is saying is you won't be able to. You can't dual wield essentially.
Alright, that helps narrow it down.
Because like that great axe is 3d6 slashing, which isn't too terrible. Shell knuckles 3d4 bludgeoning, although it costs a shotgun shell. I think Sparks has one that's like that. So there's not a whole lot level 6 per se, but you could do lower than level 6 without having to roll for anything.
Yeah, I might need just a second.
Yeah, we can. While you guys are out shopping, John, is there a specific spot you're wanting to have this conversation with Rejuvenor?
Because of John's natural affinity towards like the world at large, like how it's gonna be different. I want to find like a nice overlook in Castro that maybe is like above some sort of tree line of some kind.
So if you remember in the main town here, which for the life of me I'm blanking on the name of, it has like the big ass redwoods where they have like
right.
the Thray hives in it.
That's
so like
right.
you would have to go like thin air to necessarily
Yeah.
get over the tree line, but you could go up into like one of the like sort of like an overlook sort of like section not observatory, but
like a little treehouse type deal.
mhm.
Yeah, all right. We'll just go find a little bench. I suppose we're like they're looking for a little bit of privacy, but it's okay if there's people watching.
Yeah, I mean you can see some of the Thrays sort of like buzzing about up there, but most of the people that come up here to kind of like look out over the town or the city, and if you recall, they had like the main building was like this purple crystalline sort of structure. Uh, this is one of the best places to kind of view that. But since it's kind of like late in the day, most people aren't necessarily up here looking at it. It's one of those. It's like it's too early for sunset, so you don't have like the sun setting with the purple crystal building in the background, but it's kind of too late in the day to kind of like get the best lighting aside from the sunset setting. So like not many people have come up here at this point in the time in the day. So it's fairly quiet at the moment.
It's kind of interesting to think that just 24 hours ago, this planet was doomed.
I think one of the things that's more interesting, John, is that not a single person in this town outside of the Priapatis even knew that the planet was really doomed. There's a handful of people that saw it firsthand that had escaped the outskirts, but the majority of the people that live here continue their day-to-day lives never knowing how close they were to not existing.
But you've known all along.
Fairly early on, yes.
And that's why you left. Right?
Yes.
So, what are your thoughts on the PWC? As I kind of like look around, make sure. I mean, I know we're alone, but just to be careful.
Well, having heard from the Premax her thoughts, it seems to me that most of the PWC would do the right thing, but the ones that actually have power are more interested on their perception and that everything is fine than actually taking care of the people that they serve.
You were fine with being labeled as an enemy of the state in defense of the swarm?
I wouldn't necessarily say that I was fine with it, but I accepted that it was a cost that I was going to have to take in order to do my best to protect the solar system. The way I see it, and the way the Premax is kind of alluded to, is I've already been exonerated from any acclamations they made against me as soon as they realized that they were going to need to put more attention to the swarm in the first place. Because if you recall, I think it was 2 or 3 sessions ago when you talked to the Premax, they basically already said they exonerated him. So
Yeah. That's something I'm realizing in this world. You have to be undeniable. But with that being said, do you see better future for those under the ruling of the PWC?
not sure, John. But I think we're kind of at the mercy of focusing on the inbound swarm threat
Yes, of course.
and doing our best to make sure the correct leadership's in place after the fact. But if we don't stop the swarm, it doesn't matter who's in charge.
John will sort of kneel, bend over the railing, and maybe do like a little quick visual scan on some birds that are flying around, taking some time to prepare his next words. Can I do a vibe check on Juvenor? What's his disposition? Disposition.
I would say no, despite John's inadequacies as far as like
Yeah,
interpersonal
I'm not
conversation.
really. It's not really
I would say
strong
no role necessarily required. There's a level of awkwardness to Rejuvenor as he's discussing things with you. You can tell that he's filled with conviction when it comes to like the swarm comes first, but you can tell there's some like it's almost like he's holding back a little bit with you specifically. Almost like that he's not sure how to act around you.
I'll look at him in the eyes and this might sound a little crazy, but it occurred to me that the leadership quality and decisions that the inner circle have made are completely inadequate. And I'm wondering how many friends you have made over the years before getting exonerated.
As far as the PWC is concerned, I I didn't really have any, John. Our father had sort of established himself as the patriarch of our family and had been running the business for decades at this point. And his death unexpectedly from void decay sort of left all of the connections he had. He wasn't expecting to die as quickly as he did, John. He didn't groom either of us to really replace him at that point. He thought he had another decade or two. We were sort of in our phase of do whatever we want. I was dabbling in technomancery. You were doing your thing. To be honest, I would say what it was, but I kind of want you to remember it yourself. But his whole thing is he wanted us to live our lives how we wanted to, and then when it was time to take over the family business, then we take it over. So he's kind of giving us our space. So whenever the void decay happened, and I went in search of finding answers to save you, all of the political stuff as far as being Baron were kind of went to the wayside. I only used the title to pull the little bit of strings to tether together this liberation force.
And that's why I wanted to have this conversation. You know how to bring people together. It's not necessarily my strong suit. I was thinking we use the world-ending doom that the swarm is bringing in 2 months' time to also throw to.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And he'll just sit there silent. And I'm not, body language is not my forte, but I'll just sit there and just wait.
I would ask you if you're serious, but if anything, I've learned that in your current state, you only speak in truth.
That's right, I can't lie.
I'm not saying that we couldn't, John, but is this something you've even brought up to the rest of the Revengers, or
Not currently, but I'm sure T will be on board.
I mean, T is kind of a wild card, so I'm sure that he's up for any time that he could do a swirly dirly, as he says.
But to speak truthfully, like I can only, I have been unsure of how I felt about the PWC, and over the last couple of weeks, maybe months, working for them, especially how they have unadequately put everybody in danger by shooing this under the rug as if it was not an issue. I have a hard time standing for it. And sure, maybe Prima Stella Cruz or whatever her name is might be on our side with things, but I think we'll need more influence and force.
Yes. At the very least, I think the inner circle needs to be abolished. The fact that no one knows who is part of the inner circle is already an issue. There's a council in place, but it's not every member of the council is part of the inner circle, as brought forth by Premax Kumara Mela Cruz. If she was part of the inner circle and she was discussing things with us, I guess she could be playing both sides, but I think the likelihood of that is pretty slim. But at the very least, we need to get rid of them if we want everything to be fairly transparent. I don't know the correct approach, but at the very least, we could start by blasting out across the infosphere what is actually taking place on Castrovel and what is currently about to hit the Pack Worlds.
I figured there'd be more resistance on your end.
John, I was labeled as a rebel for the last 6 months of my life, and the PWC was actively hunting me, trying to kill me.
I just didn't want to make sure I was being crazy, but I feel pretty confident that this is the right way to go.
Whether it's right or wrong, John, I'm just happy that we're together and doing this together.
Right.
There has
off into the sunset.
John, there hasn't been a day since I left that I haven't regretted. Not knowing whether or not you would come back has torn me apart every day.
Oh.
I knew there was a greater calling, and I was hoping that you would understand, but obviously the Michael I know still isn't fully back.
He may never return.
Which is fine, because I'm more than happy to know the John that you are now.
I am not sure who John is now.
Well, we can discover that together.
I want to give him a robot hug.
He's not going to resist if that's what you would
I
like to do.
squeeze too tight.
His skin gets caught in a couple of the joints and like
Pinches.
Well, we'll say that like one of the sort of clips on his robotic arm clips into your robotic arm, so you guys can't detach
Sure,
as
okay.
easily as possible.
yeah, makes the awkward hug even more awkward.
We have to like kind of jostle back and forth to sort of get it undone.
This is almost bad as that time we got tangled up in the fucking Lagunta weeds out of the beach.
That sounds uncomfortable. I'm not much of a play in the water type of robot.
I imagine not.
Well, here's my plan then. I may talk to the others, but I also may just look into this separately. I'm not sure. I plan on going to Avalon and seeing who I can potentially smoke out.
Oh, Absalon Station.
Absalom, yes, that's what I meant. Thank you, brother.
Avalon is the robot world.
Yeah, I think they're two
They're
separate.
very close. Yeah.
Maybe get a nice weapon integration. I don't know if I have enough money for that, but I am going to see who I can talk to who might be able to be willing to join the newest rebel force.
We really would be the Revengers then, wouldn't we?
We may even need another team name change. Something more
Dramatic.
The Revengers.
I like putting prefixes onto words.
With putting prefixes on prefixes. It strikes fear into the hearts of many.
Well, we can definitely mull it over and see what the rest of the group thinks. Or if you want to keep it close to the chest, we can wait till we have the Revolution force behind us on Absalon Station.
Of course. And I, at this point, because of everything that John has, that Rejuvenor has brought up, he's sort of.
There was like a, I would say shooting star. I assume it wasn't though. Someone might have lit off a firework or something. It's kind of cool. Anyways.
His emotional storage banks are full. A whole system reset will be needed to sort of like get back down. So I just want to spend the next, 30 minutes or 45 minutes just kind of standing in silence, taking in the beauty of Castroville of which that we have saved.
Perfect. Yeah. You and Rejuvenor are up here long enough that like you take the prime spot for like the sunset, like I was talking about earlier. So like you guys do get to see kind of like how like the sun from this viewing point sets right behind this purple crystal
cool.
castle. So like you get like
You
this
just see
rainbow
a
sort of
whole-
effect as it goes down.
Cool. Cool.
And I mean, like we mentioned before, you've kind of got like these sort of like mud urban hut sort of stuff like in the inner part of the city, and then like around the perimeter you've got like the on one half of the perimeter is where like the anthill Formian hills are.
Yes.
So you can kind of see those, and then as you're kind of like looking where you guys are currently residing is like these massive like redwood like trees that have like the beehives dangling down from branches, and then they have like the sort of like huts, not hut, platforms that extend out, with some of them having houses and stuff like that for the other sort of creatures. So that elves also live on Castroville, so like there's some of those up in the trees. So you have like a wood elf sort of vibe going on, as well as like these bee thray flying around. And despite your mechanical body, you really feel one with nature in this sort of like setting, because like that is the whole thing that they're striving for, is like they want everything to like evolve like they have. So like that was the whole mantra, is like because so many different insectoid species were able to evolve into sentience, they want to continue that sort of thing, which is why they pushed industry off planet.
Gotcha. I will grab a snack of pick of the sunset going behind the.
You using your fax machine for this?
Yeah. Well, if I'm not mistaken, it was established that I can spit out Polaroid pictures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's like the 1970s computer print. Yeah.
And it's like the laser sort of thing.
Yeah.
This is now the
It's
new
a-
Windows XP.
It's an inkjet printer.
Yeah, inkjet printer. Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I'll just snap a pic, savor the moment, and I'll toss it to someone else.
Perfect. T, did you
Yes,
find what you were looking
I
for?
did.
And then Raya, you're next.
I'm gonna search around
Yep.
in hopes of finding a Titan blade.
Chitin blade. What level is that? Or it's
a
basic
level
melee?
4 basic melee two-handed.
I probably misspelled the shit out of that. What is it?
Chitin.
Titan blade, huh? Makes sense. You're on
Yeah.
Castroville.
Yeah.
Oh, there's all these bee weapons.
Titan blade is one word.
CHIT.
Tin.
It should be enough. It's not. You going with the tactical one?
Yeah, tactical.
Okay.
What does that mean?
It's basically just so if you were to search, there's other chitin blades at higher levels that have a different moniker at the end, basically identifying that it's a higher level.
Oh, okay.
Because there's like the level 17 version that does 8d8 slashing.
Yeah, this is just 1d6 slashing with 1d6 bleed.
Yeah, it is currently 1890. But if you're wanting to barter, that is an option.
Hell yeah.
I think you're one of the few that has done it.
I'm very
You also have like the lucky the lucky feat or whatever, where you can re-roll.
Yeah, I can
just
play it
kidding.
off as a joke and try
Yeah.
again. Comedic timing.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, having -1. So.
Well, I know this isn't in the mind of the people, but I did save all of your lives. I was kind of considering that maybe this is representative of the feat I have achieved for you.
The shop that you've found this blade in is, I don't want to sound racist, but it reminds me of like if you've ever hit like a Native American store sort of thing where it's like supernatural. It's where you can like
Yes.
find the arrowheads, that type of
100%.
thing. So this is like a Formian sort of shop. So this chitin blade is literally like hand like carved by the Formian, and the Formians are like the ant like creatures.
So this is the part of the world where the resort is for the.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, this is the capital city, so like there's a mix of all the different races here. So it's not specifically where you're from. El Dorado was abandoned.
Did I also mention that I'm best friends with Rejuvenor and Master John?
Well, I don't know who either of those folks are, because if you remember, Rejuvenor was kind of incognito on Castrovel, so unless he was part of the Liberation Force, he wouldn't know who he was. But you have me interested. Do you wanna give me this tale of how you saved our planet? Because I haven't heard our planet being in danger at all.
Yeah,
Well, that's just proof of our accomplishments. If you were able to save an entire community of people without them knowing, I'd say you've done your job pretty damn well.
You do have a point.
Basically, we were down inside of the secret laboratory, where a hive mind was being controlled by all of these troops that all shared one symbiotic mind.
Okay.
We found the brain of this system with all of my friends that you see behind me that were being controlled as well, that we were able to save their minds.
You've got all three of them kind of like nodding their head, like going along with the story. Not that you're lying or anything, but like they're definitely like embellishing
I
it.
had to go into my ultimate form in order to defeat this foe. I came out with
You're
a stretch of my life.
the group behind you all kind of like their eyes kind of like cross. So like, what the fuck is he talking about?
They're like looking at each other.
I'd show you, but I'm tired.
I'm tired. Only because you're tired.
I'm tired.
But once we defeated this creature that almost seemed to turn into a black hole within the midst of my eyes, we were able to shut it out. And your planet is saved.
Well, that was definitely a story. I'm gonna take your word for it. Go ahead and roll this check at advantage. I'm gonna go with. I don't think persuasion's one of them, but you can give me diplomacy.
Okay.
Or bluff, if you'd like to go that route.
I wouldn't. I'm not going to say bluff because this is from T's perspective of how
I
he
mean,
saw it being done.
As far as like,
You're not wrong.
not just T's perspective in general, that's the story that is true. Your crew doesn't know it because they were mind controlled, so they know you saved them. They don't know what the fuck you're talking about with this ultra form or whatever.
This is my recount to them of what happened as well. So I'm not only convincing the shopkeeper, but I'm also
And they were all on board until you're like, yeah, I used my ultimate form. The fuck he's being like by this ultimate form.
Needless to say, that's a 21.
Oh, nice. Okay, we're gonna say
To sell it, I'm going to go into Karen form.
that's not what I'm.
Okay.
It's how much I'm reducing it by.
Okay.
Because the DC was 15, so beating it by 6 will say it's reduced down by 20%, which would make it. Please hold.
What about 100? 1710. About.
So it's going to be 378 lower. So
Excellent.
minus minus 18. So it'd drop it to 1512.
I'll take it.
You get a melee weapon?
Yeah, he's got this Karen blade
It's
or
a two-handed
chitin blade.
Nice. That has a bleed, huh?
Yeah, so if he lands a crit, it applies a bleed effect.
Oh, cool.
just to give me something to do more than just my claw attack. Gotcha.
Yes, did you look at the like verbiage for the blade?
I skimmed over it. Let me give it a read for a second. Was it not from so I could find it because I bought it?
I've got it pulled up with.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so the serrated sweeping blade of a chitin blade is based on technology recovered from encounters with the swarm. The source material can come from a natural part of a creature's body, but the final weapon is detached and wielded with two hands. Tactical chitin blade is modeled on an animal counterpart with little modification, but high-tech materials and manufacturing improve on nature in the micro-serrated, nano-serrated, and ultra-serrated models.
So can I have this be? I know that it having chitin wouldn't have a skeletal figure; it's just an exoskeleton.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be like how where the spine would be, like where all the ridges in the chitin like kind of lift up? So it's like kind
Yeah,
of
if you wanted to go that route,
it's kind of like a serrated two-handed blade.
yeah,
Cool.
no, that's really cool. The alternate I was going with is like the mantis arm.
Okay. I don't know. I think I
I
would
like
want
the
something-
ridge back a little bit more.
I
to be
want
honest.
something that could cause more devastation. Is kind of the idea I'm going.
Yeah.
And then T, like after making the sale, continues to add more flavor of how he was able to distract like all of these people. All of these hive mind members that were like from all the way across the other side, and it like invading their minds above their own hive mind, and like my mind was more powerful than their collective mind.
So yeah, so now you're getting into the embellishment territory.
100%. And it isn't until like the awkward silence of my boasting like reaches a climax where I'm like, and now you know.
Well, I've finished gift wrapping it for you, so I'm glad to have heard your tale. I'm sure all of my customers will be willing to hear it. As he kind of like makes eye contact with Oscar, is like, at the
I walked off with the most bravado possible.
Perfect.
Yeah, I got the sway to the shoulders.
Yeah.
We'll get to your guys' bar hopping after we touch base with Raya and her Mantid Reserve. So Raya, as you kind of like make your way over to the Mantid Reserve, the town is primarily comprised of mud huts. So it's kind of got like a African sort of vibe. Around the town, you can see a few different fields of agriculture, including one similar to corn.
Similar to corn.
There's some storm clouds kind of like on the horizon, so it's kind of got a little bit of an overcast, chilly environment. But at the moment, it looks fairly calm. You'll be able to kind of like pinpoint as you're kind of like landing the shuttle, the home that you grew up in, and like your family, your parents are kind of out weeding the nearby garden at the moment. But I'll kind of like turn it over to you on how you want to approach.
I did have one question before we dive in. So one of the extra feats that I got was improved unarmed strike.
Mm-hmm.
For it, it just says you don't threaten any squares with unarmed strikes, and you must have a hand free to make an unarmed strike.
Uh-huh.
What does that mean? You
Uh,
must have a free hand.
that's like, so what we were just talking about with T's two-handed weapon. He has to have both hands on the weapon in order to wield it. So in that case, is if you have a weapon that requires you to have both hands on, you can't threaten with an unarmed strike. So like if you have, in your case, it would be like if you're holding like a sniper rifle, that requires two hands, so you can't throw a punch at the same time you're holding your sniper rifle. But if you're using a small arm, which is only one-handed, you could still threaten with your unarmed strike.
Okay, because I have an unarmed strike. I don't think it's equipped.
Your unarmed strike is always
If I-
equipped.
Oh, okay.
So basically, this is just clarifying that you can't hit with an unarmed strike unless you have a weapon or a hand free.
Okay. Cool. Um.
That's cool.
So as I'm going through, I'm walking, and I feel like I'm getting like Kansas vibes. You know, when you're like walking through the cornfields and it's like kind of windy. So I'm really just taking it all in, especially after we've gone through, like kind of reminiscing and um, just trying to cherish all of feelings and nostalgia that's coming up with going back home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the main thing that I'm trying to find out is like if them living there, if they had any signs or indications of what they suspected, and if they even knew that they had been invaded in a sense.
Give me a perception check.
Hold on.
I think you guys have perception.
Or oh no, that's I was gonna say spot hidden, but that's different.
Yeah, it's. I think the other one you guys have is sense motive, but I think perception's one.
Okay, for perception, I have a +3. Hold
Okay.
on, I'm doing it off my computer. I got a 15 +3, so 18.
Okay, nice.
Nice.
Yeah. As you kind of like sort of start scanning the town as you get out of the shuttle, you can kind of see like weapon strikes and stuff on some of the huts. You can see sort of like patterns that indicate like bodies were dragged at one point, especially towards like the main hut that's in the town. And while everybody seems to be fine now, you can get the vibe as you're like looking at the surrounding area that like everybody's a little bit tense. So like even your parents, you can see that like there's a little bit more tension in the air than you've ever seen before. Because it's like a small farming community, so like it's one of those like normally is in like a jolly sort of mood because like everybody knows everybody and like it's a normal routine day in day out. So the fact that like you see all this sort of stuff, you get the vibe that like whether or not they're acknowledging things happened, things definitely happened in this town.
Would they be like forthcoming about the things, like again, looking at the drag marks and everything? Or would I be able to piece it together knowing everything I know?
So you could definitely start a conversation with them to see whether or not they'll regale you with what's happened. But as far as like piecing it together, what you guys have already seen, um, you're pretty confident based off of the briefing you had the Liberation Force and what you saw at El Dorado that this town was probably overrun. And most of the people here were either converted or were in the process of being converted into the hive mind.
Okay, that was going to be one of my questions, is if um like as we're traveling through other nations and stuff, would we be able to see like if I'm talking to my parents and a neighbor stops by, would I be able to tell that they're under the hive mind or anything like that?
Are you wanting to talk with your parents? I'm not necessarily trying to force RP to happen, but your questions are kind of alluding to you want to have a conversation with them. I'm kind of just waiting
No,
for you to
we
start
don't.
it.
No,
Another question.
no, you're good. Like, we don't have to have a full conversation. I just want to, like, obviously just a gist of whatever
Okay,
conversation
yeah.
we
So if we want
had.
to, if we want to
But
go,
I'm trying to like imagine going through all these other Asians, all these other nations, um, and like for me, from a historian standpoint, I would want to be able to dictate, like, hey, like this is how it slowly started, and this is how they invaded, and then seeing if there's any telltale signs that would be useful for the future.
your parents would kind of once you've started the conversation. Obviously, they're happy to see you because you haven't been back in a few years because you've been off at school and doing your sort of like scholarly sort of like historian stuff with preserving artifacts and attending the symposiums and whatnot. Um, the gist of what's happened here that they kind of give you is one of the days everybody was kind of out in the fields doing their normal routine. It was just before harvest season, so they were kind of prepping to bring in um, everything from the fields, and there was some creatures that overran them. Since this is a farming community, they didn't really have any form of defense. So very quickly, they had all sort of been tied up and brought to the central hub hut. And because it's a Lashunta farming community, in order to convert them, they were all sort of tied up around this white orb, which, based off the description, this is the same orbs that you guys encountered in your fight with a minor hive mind. And it basically constantly was radiating this mental attack on them. And right about the point where they were going to break under the mental strain, the all of a sudden the orb went dark. It sort of dropped and shattered, and the sort of creatures that had been forcing them to like be in this room with the orb had all dropped dead around them, and they had managed to kind of like finally untie themselves and kind of get back to their own thing. They don't necessarily understand fully what occurred, but based off of stories, they assume it's some sort of swarm attack, because there's no sort of like official word from like the capital on any sort of strikes. They like sent in like information on what happened, but they haven't necessarily heard back on if this was linked to something larger or if it was like a like a cultist sort of thing that happened.
Were they able to recover?
Yeah, as far as you
Like
can.
those that
Yeah, so if you recall, we had kind of briefed that if they hadn't been converted or had only been converted for a short period of time, um, they go back to being normal afterwards, which is why T's crew is, for all intents and purposes, fine, is they were converted later on, so they're not, there's, they would have died if there was any lingering side effects of being with the swarm.
okay.
But they were never actually fully converted. The orb was destroyed before they were able to be converted.
Okay. I think that's really it. The only other thing that I was thinking about is that I was kind of thinking about when with my new feet added. So hold on, let me pull it up. So for mine, it's like the improved unarmed strike. You have trained to make your unarmed strikes lethal and strikes with kicks, headbutts, and similar attacks. So I kind of wanted to have this moment where pretty much I go to Agnes, and after seeing everything that's happening with my family and like seeing the destruction that's being caused and all these things, I want to get better at combat. So with everybody gone, that was kind of also the reason why I didn't want to go. But with everybody gone off the ship and they're like shopping and doing whatever, or like in another part,
Mm-hmm.
just me full on like loser, like Karate Kid bandana on, trying to improve and get more comfortable with my weaponry. But I want to do it like in like either like a space or I kind of want to say my room, but I don't know about my room since the ship's being worked on.
Well, you could always use the
Um,
hollow room because you can make it look like whatever you want.
yeah, yeah, kind of like that, and then just like practice just to make the improved unarmed strike, like the new feature, feel more authentic in a way.
Okay, so you're wanting
Also,
to like
have every
flavor wise explain your meta decision.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Agnes would be more than happy to kind of like run the program without like letting anybody else be able to see it per se. Basically, if anybody else was to come by while you're using it, she would have it like labeled as like what they expect you to normally be doing with like the books or whatever, so that like you can use it as like no one knows that you're training for it. But like you've been doing this over an extended period of time. Um, if you'd like that.
Yeah, I'm good
Perfect.
with that.
Okay. Before we get into the bar hop sort of sequence, do we want to take a quick break to make the horror factor?
Oh, we have to.
Yeah, because if we go much further, we won't get to the horror factor because it's a quarter extent. So, so feel free to.
I'm gonna go yell at my kids because I'm hearing them wrestle in bed.
Okay.
And then if you guys get back before I do, just message me on my phone.
Okay.
Thanks, Mom.
So they just consumed the horror factor, which I'm just going to go ahead and drop in 4 of those into the Trevor Tros. We'll include you in this, Raya.
Yay.
Thank you for the drinks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you guys go to your inventory, you should be able to pull it from the treasure. I don't remember exactly what it looks like on your guys' side, but I know it's there.
From the... Sorry, I forgot.
It's go to inventory, and then it's like under the shared tab.
Ah, that's right.
And then you should be able to pull over one. Okay, as you guys come into your guys' first bar of the night, Tier, is this one of the ones you're ordering? And we'll say this is.
T treats his crew to this. They're like house special type of deal.
It is indeed one of the like more obscure drinks on the menu at this bar. We'll call it the hardened carapace.
Okay.
I love it. I
Cool.
love it.
All right.
Are you partaking of the horror factor as well, Delilah?
Yeah, I'm just acting like a. So,
Okay.
In true free captain style.
Yeah, John's not much of the socialite. He won't be joining.
Okay, since a member of the party has consumed it, your guys' text will all be updated to have the actual effect applied. But the drinker gains the immediate effects of the see invisibility spell for the next 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
They also see a number of illusionary phantom monsters visible only to the drinker and others currently under the effects of see invisibility. These phantoms are not dangerous, but they are terrifying, realistic, and deeply distracting, and they cause disadvantage on will saves.
You know, I talk to somebody and there's like some apparition behind them going.
So think of it like the Haunted Mansion, where it's like a bunch of like goofy ass like phantoms. Like at this particular bar, you can see there's like some like there's a couple Formians, a Thray, and a Lashunta like over in the corner, and they're doing like the quartet sort of like
Okay.
singing bullshit, and no one else can see or hear them, but those of you that have partaken of the drink can see them off in the corner. That's kind of like, depending on if it's your thing or not, might be ruining the mood for the bar, where like you just have these old ass insects kind of like singing in the corner. And it's not necessarily matching the vibe of anybody else at the bar. Like It's a little bit more contemporary, so you can see like at some point this bar was probably updated, which is why these phantoms are still lingering. They're like a little pissed that it's no
I
longer
see.
like this old man's bar.
Okay.
But as we continue on with your guys' bar hop, is there anything in particular you're looking for aside from me giving off names of bars?
I want to go. Can I come up with one off the cuff, or do you have a list?
I do not have a list because I did not plan for a bar hop, but I'm happy to give some on the spot if you'd like.
Right. So this one is. Okay.
I will say the one that you guys end the night on is called Flex Your Thorax.
Flash your thorax?
Flex Your Thorax.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like the midsection on an insect.
Sure.
It's also a reference to Bug's Life.
Oh, shoot. I definitely knew that.
The only the only thing I can think of is like the Etzel cocktail.
Oh, that one's good. I like that one.
Or the 8-legged swan.
Yeah, okay.
I like yours more.
Alright, the Etzel cocktail is where I take the crew for a cocktail that I heard in passing while sharing my tale across the town. They're like, I think you need this Etzel cocktail down a block or two. I head over there with it.
Perfect.
Knowing far well that T has never been there, but is acting as if he has.
Yeah. So the one drink you've heard of is the whole reason why like it was one that kind of stuck in your mind is it's referred to as the last stand. And you thought that was fitting for this
Hell
pirate
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hell yeah.
that it did like a last stand sort of fight. What you didn't realize it's the highest alcohol content whiskeys on the planet, all mixed into one drink. So it's effectively a Four Horsemen.
So this is just a super high proof AMF.
Sure.
Essentially, have you ever had a Four Horsemen?
I've never.
So a Four Horsemen's Jack, Jameson, Johnny Walker, and Jim Beam.
Good God. Alright.
Oh
And
my
a
god, I
single.
already want to throw up.
So that's more or less what they're serving you. It's got, funny enough, they have some Lagunta whiskey from Verses because that's very highly prestigious. So that's like you're kind of taking the place of the Johnny Walker in this. There's a Formian whiskey in there where they use a little bit more of like a grain, like a rice sort of grain. So it's kind of like a rice liquor, similar to like Japanese whiskey. And then you've got the corn base from the Lashunta farming community, similar to like an American whiskey. And then they have somehow managed to lit up really bright all of a sudden. They've somehow managed to derive a whiskey from the leaves off the redwood trees nearby. So like the color is very, very like it's a reddish hue instead of like the normal golden whiskey, mostly because of the redwood sort of like bleeding in because they finish it in a redwood barrel.
Okay, we'll start out with a round of that, and then we'll order the horror.
The horror factor after.
The horror factor after.
Perfect. The only sort of bit of thing that you kind of have as you're doing this bar crawl, outside of any other additional RP that you guys would like, at some point, you kind of sit down with Hargrove at one point, and he kind of thanks you for saving them. I have it written in here. I'm just gotta
Can we
find my
RP this out?
Yes, that's. I was
Okay.
trying to find my notes on
Okay,
it.
you're good, you're good.
Hey, Captain. It's been quite a while since our last saw you. To be honest, I didn't think you would have made your way out to El Dorado anytime soon, but we're glad you were able to save our sorry lot.
Well, if I'm going to be honest, I had the original plan to retire here like everybody else. But I ended up coming here for another reason. Glad you all are all still alive.
Well, I think it's just luck of the draw that we weren't converted earlier, because there's a couple of the folks in El Dorado that didn't make it back out. They just happened to go down beneath a little bit before us. Might be because of us having a little bit more combat experience under you, for better or worse.
I don't like to refer to talking about our experiences. We got out or we didn't. And the only factor in there is our skill, our experience up until then. Well survived, not because of my teachings or my failings, because of your own grit. This is the reason why I want you to join my camp.
Well, you didn't necessarily need to convince us, but I do appreciate the sort of nod of approval in our combat prowess.
I will be honest with you. The task we are about to undergo will likely go underappreciated. But
We're part of the free captains. Hardly anybody appreciates us.
But here is where it gets juicy. Nobody knows about it. There is much loot to be had, and no one will ever know.
That is indeed a true story.
And
Think about the cities that have already been converted.
And if they do know, we will be recognized as heroes, not as the ones that won.
So we keep the loot from the ones that don't know, and donate back what we find at the other ones and get the prestige. Aha, win-win.
I'm not going to say yes or no, but whatever happens will happen.
See, this is what we've been missing over in El Dorado, is the underlying swindling that T just brings to the table.
With that, I'm going to propose a toast. But for right now, I think that our vessel is unnamed. And I have a name for it.
Which vessel are you referring to?
Isn't our ship not like...
It's the OMAG.
Okay. Well, we just had it upgraded, so I'm going to
I mean, if you would have rebranded in the bar without the whole party, by all means.
I plan on talking to the party, but I'm going to rile up the crew
so
first.
appropriate for him.
This is definitely a team moment.
Before I get up to it.
We literally, I guess one of the things I missed is Nia made a point of asking if the ship was okay being named the OMAG, and it literally responded of like, I've never been called anything else, so like, why would I want a different name?
So now that it's being upgraded to a large vessel, the previous vessel, okay, I'll say this in character. Our previous ship, I felt that we had no other option.
Okay.
The Conquistador fell, and it brought me on a path of true rebuilding. And on this new mission where it will be very profitable or lose our lives, it is only fitting we name it after redemption. I put my vote into this hat. La Redemption.
La
I believe I'm saying that right.
Or is it El Redemption? That sounds masculine, so I think it's El.
Yeah, El Redemption.
El Redemption, it is, Captain, and both Oscar and...
It's a redemption in Spanish.
Oh, really? I shouldn't have guessed.
Yeah. I wanted to make it clear, okay?
Oscar and fuming, so it's fuming Zeph.
Americans, so we're not that cultural, you know?
I didn't know until tonight.
And you guys will throw back the shot. T, give me a mysticism roll.
A mysticism?
Yes, indeed.
What are those? 22.
Perfect. As the shot sort of hits the back of your throat, the burn is a little bit more than you were necessarily expecting because it's a lot more whiskey in one sort of drink. You're not, in hindsight, you're not sure it's actually one that you're supposed to throw back or if you're supposed to sip on. But what's done is done. And like as your like vision kind of gets blurry, you kind of like open them up, and all of a sudden you're on the conquistador, and like the edges of your vision are sort of redded out.
I relive this every.
As you turn, you can see Devil's Charm in the pilot's chair. Devil's Charm is facing you, and you can just make out a muffled, "They got us surrounded. What should we do, Captain?" As you look up to like the center screen, you can just barely see that there are several ships around surrounding you.
Our
And
shields are still up.
oh, sorry, this is
Oh, please.
a guttural voice comes out of your mouth. "We burned them all." And then the flashback ends abruptly as you're back at the bar.
Tease stands there, kind of wide-eyed silence.
Are you all right there, Captain T? You look like you've seen a ghost.
I see ghosts everywhere.
Well, that's very ominous. What are we drinking next?
Another Red Bull.
He needs another sip after that.
As you guys order another out of this, are you throwing it back straight, or are you trying to sip on it this time?
100%. I'm the captain of these folks.
Throw this bitch back.
I'm not holding
You're the captain of the ship now.
As you throw this food back, it burns just as fucking bad as it did the first time.
I relish the pain.
But you were not met with a eerie flashback this time.
You tracked it down.
I may have tried.
You made him try.
I can't show weakness in front of my
your crew.
Are you crying, Captain? No, I'm just sweating. All right, Delilah, is there anything you're doing? You're kind of like tagging along, right? Like
Yeah.
you're seeing this all go down.
Yeah, and I take a shot too. I noticed it happened. Shot him, so I decided to take
You don't do the second one. Like, ooh, okay.
T plans on getting absolutely shit-faced, and through my drunken adventures, I would like to procure, like, the biggest, like, pirate's hat I can find. Like, huge-ass white feather Captain Hook style. I want that shit draping down, and, like... and then as far as financial and however drunken I can, why is my credits all Hold on.
As you kind of like continue bar hopping, there is a pretty good bar hop scene down one of the streets here in the capital. So you guys have hit the hardened carapace. You made your way down to the we'll end with flexor thorax. The you said the exo cocktail. That was where you got the redwood, or the last stand is the name of the drink,
Cool.
but it features redwood. Following that, they got one that like the Interstellar Pirate. It's a very heavily themed one, and like they're trying to really pull off this like pirate motive. But it's not like the big. It's kind of more of a dive bar on the street,
So,
mostly
like,
because like
actual pirates would only go there if they're absolutely shit-faced, like type of thing, or like it's
actual
just...
pirates would go there because it's one of the cheapest bars in town.
Gotcha.
And that's
yeah,
part
we
of
make our way there at the end for sure.
So like, it's one of those bars that like you go to because it's cheap, and most of Castroville itself doesn't really go there because they know that it's kind of like playing off of this like whole pirate motive instead of like actually like having good like it's like all bottom shelf.
Yeah, it lacks class, and that's the reason why it invites us in.
Like you don't know why, because like you don't see anybody smoking, but there's like a layer of smoke on the ceiling of the bar. Like it feels like you just inhaled a fucking cigarette when you walk in.
It smells like home.
It's like the historic on 25th Street.
But you manage to find a pirate, a free captain that like has passed out on the bar. And because you have been reinstated as a captain of the free captains, you just take it upon yourself to pick up this white cap because now you've had like effectively 6 shots of whiskey. So you just grab the white hat off of him as you walk by. And we've also got 3 large insectoid creatures behind you as well, so like no one really questions the move either. Everybody, because the way you did it, you made it seem like you knew him. Like you even patted on his back, like good showing, and then like pick up the hat.
This hat looks better on me, I promise.
It won't be till the next morning, but you see that there's like a very big like throw up stain on the inside of like the cap, like he had thrown up into it.
Yeah,
That's
he
awful.
And then before we make it back to the ship, very important whether it like, because I'm very drunk at this point. I do want to show the crew the form I was talking about.
Okay.
So like we walk out into the street, whether we duck into an alley or
You're
what.
just fucking drunk. Like check this shit out.
Are you trying to be discreet about it, or are you trying to like?
Well, I'm
this bad boy?
drunkenly trying to be discreet, so you can interpret that how you will.
Give me a stealth roll at disadvantage.
Please, okay. I got a 15 and then a 5. Everybody, this is a concise and concealed space. I will show you my truth.
You're like barely in the alleyway.
So, where you end up popping this bitch out is there's like this bridge that like kind of like raises up over like a little bit of a river, but like there's bright lighting over it because like this is like a normally or like a romantic section of like the street. So like there's
it's perfect.
Like not only are there like side streets that like look up at it, so like there's like fairly heavy traffic because like it's a normal. It's effectively a Friday night, so like a lot of people are out at the bars.
Sure.
So you're like on this well lit, effective stage.
Well lit, effective stage.
This is the most discreet place, I promise.
And to be honest, your crew's pretty drunk at this point, so they don't really question. Is there any reaction from Delilah, who's been tagging along?
How drunk are you? Yeah.
Delilah at this point is just enjoying the chaos. Like, halfway through, she realized, like, oh, I'm the sailor. Right.
There has been an excessive amount of swearing.
Yeah. Something clicked. I'm like, oh, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So she's just like watching from the side, like almost like leaning up against the wall, just watching chaos ensue.
Yeah, so you flex out this form in the middle of the street. And whether or not anybody else knew that this thing existed, they all do now. I would say like a huge portion of the local community has now seen this like Hulk form from this random Lashunta. Whether or not they know you is a different story, but like
They will now.
There's people that like you like whether or not T reacts to it, like there's audible gasps of like, oh my god, what is that?
Oh, he makes the transformation a fucking show. Like he like hunches over and like
start making loud noises.
Closer to like a Quasimodo sort of like transformation.
Yeah, and then like once like all the spikes start coming out, like I fully like stretch out and roar. Like the intention was to be quiet, but now I've committed to the bit. And, like,
About the time Yeah, I was gonna say, about the time you finish this transformation, there's like the constable like starting to walk up, like,
my God.
what the hell is going on up here?
Run, we've got the fuzz.
We've got the fuzz. You run from the police.
I run and like trip onto my like Karen face and just keep trying to run.
Okay, both of you guys give me a dexterity save.
Wow.
Me too.
Yes, well, you're part of this group.
Reflex save.
You're stuck.
Yeah, reflex save.
Disadvantage or just neutral?
Roll it based off of how drunk you're
I'm
playing into. So if you feel like the
17 at disadvantage.
oh, nice. Oh,
It's Dex. So
It's
the reflex. So you probably have a decent one in there.
it is from additive from your class and then plus dexterity.
Mine's 4.
Okay. Yeah. So like the natural benefits of being in the Karen form, like you do trip, and kind of hit your face, but Karen form, because I'm gonna kind of play it that Karen form consumes an exorbitant amount of calories.
Okay.
So it sort of levels you out a little bit.
Oh, it sobers me. Yeah.
So like, especially like with that first face plant, like that like kind of like knocks some sense into you, and then like the caloric burn really levels it out, and like you kind of like start accelerating through the back alleys here. Delilah, you had no issues. Not only are you a little bit more agile in nature, but you're also really small, and you were not the one yelling and being loud to begin with. So like you're able to kind of like bleed through the crowd initially, and then kind of like lead the charge as the rest of the group. If anything, Hargrove has been trying to keep up with Captain T, not realizing that T just didn't give a fuck. So like he's the one kind of like lollygagging behind, but because of his pretty boy nature, it's given him a little bit of a boost and not like necessarily even like if the cops were to like catch up to him, they wouldn't assume that he was the one instigating anything.
He's just too attractive to do anything wrong.
So funny. I think that's all that T wanted to do.
Perfect. Is there anything else for our bar hop tonight?
I don't think so.
Perfect. All right. Do you guys have anything else for this evening in particular for our events on Castroville? Or are you kind of looking back to head up to the ship for the evening?
I'm heading back to the ship, but in my hungover state, bringing up the conversation to the team about the ship's name change, being that it's upgraded.
Raya will say that like after you talk with your parents, originally you were supposed to head back and like pick up all the bar hopping folks. Because they ran from the cops, you don't know where the fuck they went. So you end up like just heading back to the ship, and they end up getting like effectively an Uber up to the moon. Wherever you guys feel like you would like to meet up for the evening to have a discussion. You guys have the common room, which got like the kitchenette and the table and everything, if you'd like.
I'll say there.
Okay.
T will saunter in, like, holding his head with the still puke-stained captain's hat. As much as I love being at captain's seat, the floor is comfort. What are you making?
I don't know, and like you look and it's horrendous. I don't want to.
There's like eggs. There was like 3 different meats that were left in the fridge that have all.
I kind of look, and my eyes begin to droop a little. Right. And I like kind of like almost throw up, and I'll have some.
Okay.
You'll see John walk in. If it's okay, I'd love to own a. I know John has a fascination with red, so I'd like to have a pair of like maroon silk pajamas. You know, with the seam.
Yeah.
I would like to be wearing that when I come in.
The silk red pajamas with the seam.
Okay. So you guys have been in common room before this. Is this a new thing that John is wearing to bed, or is this something they've seen
Yes.
before?
Yeah, no. This is definitely.
Yes.
Usually people aren't awake this late.
Oh, okay.
I like to go into the common room at night for a nice cup of oil. So I come in with I'm even going to say I have like a sleeping cap on. Oh, this is weird. Give me a few moments. I'm indecent.
Wait, John. I kind of look over with like a very lazy, like turn of the head. You're like my hat.
Your hat seems very well made. Unfortunately, there seems to be some sort of stain on there. I'm not sure if you want to be wearing.
I kind of look up and
Because now you can smell it.
he keeps his resilience strong and keeps the hat on because he's committed. But like he cannot ignore what has been said. So he's just trying to stand there as if he's not with it.
T, if you stop to think about it, whatever's on top of that hat definitely came out of someone else who's living, and I can tell from the DNA biometric scanning I'm doing at the moment that it at least happened 3 months ago.
3 months ago.
Can this be the moment I just walk in and look around and be like, what is happening? Right. What are you wearing? What is that smell?
What's up? So anyway,
I'm literally crying right now. It's so funny.
So anyway, I'm kind of glad as a robot I have no factory unit installed.
so the crew and I were thinking.
As he says the crew, you can see the 3 members of the Conquistador sitting in the corner couch, all fucking passed out.
Okay. Just out.
The ship has received a lot of upgrades. I think it's time for a new name.
What is wrong
A new
with
name.
that? Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good.
To be honest, I really like the name Momac, but cannot remember for the life of me what it stands for. You want a new name for the new ship?
Yeah, let me look at my translate app because I forgot. La Redemption. The Redemption.
That sounds similar to the last ship you blew
It
up.
sounds dumb. No, it
It's
sounds
symbolic.
dumb.
Well,
I'll let you all sit on it. I need to go lift.
Hopefully he forgets that he told us tomorrow.
Give me a will save.
Great. Please.
Stop.
open this hat, dude.
No, that would be a con save. This is to determine whether or not he remembers any of the second half of the evening. Will save.
Of course he's not gonna.
Well, at one point, he's normal now.
22.
22. Yeah, he's gonna remember.
Yeah. I remember
He's the
how
captain.
great-
I remember how great.
But yeah, T like was unable to keep composure and goes to lie down, but doesn't make it to his room. He just opts to lie in the hallway.
Not just the hallway. You had at least made it to the door and hit the button to open it, and then you collapsed. So the door is like
Shutting.
ding.
Constantly shutting and opening.
Yeah.
Eventually, I will say it's like 3 a.m. local. Agnes, like, no, we'll say like 5 a.m. Because we'll say you guys didn't get back till like 2 a.m. from the
It's
bars.
alerted that there's a malfunction with the
Yeah,
door,
so
and it's just
Agnes
T with
comes
Bruce
by and
Willis.
she sees you laying there and she like fucking shuffles you into your bed.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that as a little kid where you like fell asleep somewhere and you wake up in your bed and you're like, this is magic.
T
That's the
doesn't.
sort of.
Yeah, T doesn't wake up at least until the equivalent of 2 p.m.
Oh man. Any other shenanigans for the rest of you guys for this evening?
No, I think I'll turn my red silk pajamas.
Anything for you, Ryan?
No, I just literally walked away and just kept myself. As soon as I was like, dumb, this name is dumb, I literally just walked away and went to bed.
Opposed with the oh my god for the old bag. All right, folks. It is 11:15.
Okay.
So I think we're at a good stopping point unless
Yeah, I
someone
think so too.
has
Yeah, I
anything.
think so.
So we will end it there and we'll get into our favorite parts.